Oh boy, things are about to get wild because we have information about Junichi Masuda's Famitsu interview for Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. So we already covered a little bit of information about this, but now we have some more translations, and Joe Merrick is, yeah, let's just see what Joe Merrick has to say. So, been reading the Famitsu interview with Masuda about Let's Go, and well, the reasoning behind some decisions are certainly something. Going to speak with my fluent Japanese-speaking friends to get confirmation on what is said before I share because, wow. That's a really interesting summary, especially when you need to go, okay, maybe there's some nuance that's lost. Maybe this translation or this Google Translate doesn't really tell us everything. And Joe Merrick, for many times, he's actually said you can't trust just raw Google Translate on information. So he got fluent Japanese-speaking friends to see what's going on. And yeah, when asked about the graphical style of Let's Go, Masuda responded that he chose the style to be more fantasy-like, not realistic, so parents could instantly recognize it as Pokemon, which means a safe game at a glance when peering in to check on kids from another room. I honestly don't know why, because like when you think about it, we already have Pokken. We already have a game for Pokemon, and it doesn't seem like they really cared about making sure it looked like a safe game. And we have Fortnite on Nintendo Switch. Now, I'd imagine that Fortnite just being ported over to Nintendo Switch was probably a decision made long after Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee started development. But I mean, we have like all these crazy games where it's like, yeah, I don't think that the Nintendo Switch is really something that the parents need to keep an eye on, like with the kids, be like, oh, is that a not safe game over there? All right, it's just Pokemon, making sure. Like, Pokemon looks like Pokemon no matter how the graphics are represented, kind of, because if it did look like Breath of the Wild, it'd be a bit more intense, but I mean, all the parents need to do, like, and that's another weird thing, is like, this game is made for kids and parents to play together, it seems, with the two-player mode, and just being actively engaging, so I mean, unless the parents don't see a commercial, don't look at the box art, don't see anything about, like, the first 5 minutes of their kids playing the game, how are they going to recognize that's Pokemon instantly at a glance? Like, at some point, they're going to have to know what they're buying for their kid, and then they'll just instantly recognize, like, oh, that's Pokemon. Like, once you see it, you know what it looks like. So I don't really know what that is, but that's fancy. In regard to wild battles, this is one I'm still waiting on clear translation, so it's still not 100%. Getting Pokemon via wild battles can be seen as some by being difficult, so they simplified it to appeal to more fans. I have never encountered a single, like, is this what Junichi Masuda's thinking? I've never encountered a single person that thinks that wild Pokemon battles are difficult, or multiple, like the overall idea, like sure, getting a legendary Pokemon, or getting like a really specific, hard to capture, low catch rate Pokemon can be a challenge, but it's not like an overall difficult thing that you eventually get good at it, because False Swipe is just, like, False Swipe is something that you can't avoid, you just get it in the games. For the most part, I'm pretty sure. Like, False Swipe in Pokemon Sun and Moon, like, you just receive that, like, as a part of the story, I'm pretty sure. And then there's a lot of other things, like you status the Pokemon, you talk to people in the trainer school, and they tell you how to capture wild Pokemon. So again, like, how is that difficult? I thought it was more just because to appeal to Pokemon Go crossover with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, but I think that this is the mindset. Like, it looks like Junichi Masuda is still carrying the mindset that started for 5th generation. I've already covered this many times over, the methodical destruction of Pokemon in Black and White, because really, there was like this shift around the 5th generation where Game Freak was like, oh, all the old school Pokemon fans, they've graduated, they've grown up, they've given up on Pokemon, and because of that, we need to make the games easier for this mobile phone, ADHD, just impatient, easier gamer, like easy mode kind of kids that have been growing up in the recent generations, and that's how Game Freak views people that are playing games right now. They aren't as dedicated to games anymore. They're more about mobile, easy games, and if a game is too difficult, they're just going to walk away from it. Now, I don't think that them walking away from it really matters, especially on a console game, because they paid their $60 for Pokemon Let's Go, and if it turns out to be too tough to finish at some point, okay, same with Sun and Moon, same with Omega Green Alpha Sapphire. But yeah, a lot of these, another complaint Masuda heard was that children were having too much trouble completing the main story of the game, and that they usually ended up giving up. How did that happen, like, pre-Generation 5? Like, even Generations 1 through 4 doesn't seem that challenging. I think Generation 1, you know, those are, like, the hardest games, because there's not really too much context clues. There's a lot of backtracking. There's a lot of making sure you're doing something right. But even then, it's like, yeah, I eventually got over it in a... Like, there was no guides back then. You didn't understand gaming. We didn't understand Pokemon. So, things have just, like... it was still doable back then, but now it isn't. And then we have this. Talking about the changes. So we create a balanced game that is suitable for the times that are running now. So this is what they mean, the times, the current generation, the entire climate of how people are just gaming and not just Pokemon, in which everyone is very busy. There's other realities amongst the young. Through smartphones or devices, you can access many games for time dedicated, or for which the time dedicated to a single game is much lower than in the past. And then they said that about not including Loda Park, and Loda Park is actually the Battle Frontier. Simple terms, Loda Park was not inserted because only a very small part of players would have appreciated it and used the functionality of the game. Players get tired of the past and are not attracted by these challenging challenges. So, did I say Battle Revolution or Battle Frontier? Either way, Battle Frontier, too challenging. So it was removed from Mega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. Kids these days, they want easy games. That's what happened, and that's what the start of. Then that's like kind of like why they rebooted for the 5th generation. So the thing is, it's not like this is something that's exclusive to Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and a reason why you need to hate the games, or why people feel compelled to hate the games. But I mean, so like I'm still able to defend it. Like I appreciate Pokemon X and Y, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, Pokemon Sun and Moon. Like I enjoy what is happening with Pokemon. I feel that the expression of the spirit of Pokemon, the engagement of the spirit of Pokemon is still really strong. Like, Game Freak understands Pokemon. They understand how to deliver Pokemon and keep people engaged with what Pokemon is, but the games have been getting dumbed down, and I mean, it's not like this is something new or exclusive to Pokemon Let's Go, but it shows that they really haven't changed this mentality, this mindset from the 5th generation. I think one problem of it is like this overwhelming blind support of 5th generation. You know, I call them Gen Whiners, where like all these people, they only respect 5th gen, and they don't have respect for the other games that came before them, or what Pokemon is. Calling everyone a Gen 1er if you don't, like, Gen 1er is never used properly because Gen 1ers just don't exist. Like, if there's no example I've ever found of a true Gen 1er because they like something from the 2nd generation. They played until the 3rd generation. They appreciate other things of Pokemon, but Gen 1er just became, oh, you don't like 5th gen, therefore, you know, you're just an ignorant Pokemon player. But then they themselves are ignorant towards anything that came before that was the foundation of Pokemon. So because 5th generation got so much support, this mentality seems to have been adopted by Game Freak, even though it's kind of misguided, and then things just kind of went crazy. And I think they also might see, not the failure, because Pokemon Sun and Moon wasn't really a failure, but a lot of things went wrong with it, that the hacking ruined the game immediately. No one played in the post-game, no one played competitively, so what it really does is it enforces these mentalities that Game Freak have about the games, that, okay, people get tired of the game really quickly and they quit. These people that are claiming to be Pokemon fans, they don't engage with our game properly, and then they quit and they fall out. So that's why they're just like, fine. These, like, they tried to cater to it, then they just call it graduating. They call it like the core audience and stuff. And they're just like, well, if you're going to move on from Pokemon anyways, we're just going to try to go for a larger audience. And then people get mad when Game Freak does that because they're disrespecting their games. The people that are mad at Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee are the same people that hacked Pokemon Sun and Moon, or the ones that didn't engage with any of the gameplay and then just complained about Pokemon Sun and Moon the whole time. Instead of giving constructive criticism that actually shows, hey, I want to enjoy your games, Game Freak, it just came off as blind, disrespectful hate, and developers don't really feel too compelled to actually entertain that, engage with that. So because it's like, okay, you just aren't what we're looking for in someone that wants to appreciate Pokemon, so we're going to tune and change it for that. Like, that's what my interpretation of this is, because we've seen it for a while, and even then, I've already said this about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. One of my videos literally started off with me saying, Joe Merrick has cucked to all the haters, or something like that. And that's just because you can see this mentality that he's trying, like the development of Pokemon has been very split because of how split the community is, and that's why we're getting these games with this mess of reaction stuff. That just because we, like, hating Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee isn't going to make Game Freak feel compelled to create a better Pokemon game, or something opposite, to where we end up with a quote-unquote better Pokemon game. It's just going to make you look like a disrespectful non-fan that isn't worth developing a game for. So this is why I think that, you know, this doesn't really change anything about Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I've already looked at it, I've already gone, yeah, I'm going to love this game. Any true Pokemon fan is absolutely going to love Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. It looks great. The mechanics, I think, are going to be very fun. Like, just because it's not like the most overtuned, crazy competitive stuff that you hack anyways, you know, it doesn't mean that's not going to be a really good game. Like, it looks engaging. It actually looks like there's going to be as much content as Pokemon Sun and Moon, as much new things, as much new ways to explore and build upon the game. I'm going to have a field day with what this game is capable of, and I'm, like, looking really forward to it. And just knowing about what went, like, the behind the scenes of development, their intention stuff, that doesn't change what the game is. You can't say, ha, this proves my Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee is bad, because by just looking at the game and already understanding what's going on with the game, this doesn't change it. There's no new information that's coming out about this. It's mostly just their intentions, and these intentions are the same that we've seen for Pokemon Black and White. So if you're saying, like, oh, what Junichi Masuda is saying is why Let's Go is bad, then that means you also have to admit that Pokemon Black and White is bad, because of this same mentality. Same for Pokemon X and Y, Omega Green Alpha Sapphire, Pokemon Sun and Moon. So it's not good to kind of see the same mentality stretched out over multiple generations, consoles, and games. I can agree with that. But at the same time, it doesn't warp or change anything about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. And then we have this. They're always trying new things to experiment. They are open listening to feedback, both positive and negative, for consideration for the future. And yeah, okay, and then there was this, you know. It was a controversial decision in Game Freak. So yeah, I don't understand how Wild Battles come off as difficult for anyone. Like, did someone really play Pokemon Go as their first Pokemon game and then have difficulty in Sun and Moon? Because I don't think anyone has ever struggled with catching Pokemon, or at least there's supposed to be that difficulty inside of it. So just like kind of Game Freak accepting that this is the newer generation, wanting an easier game. We can see that in like Fortnite compared to PUBG and stuff like that. That simplicity is where people go and flock to for the most part. And I'm happy to see this. I'm happy to see that was a controversial inside of Game Freak. My bet is that Masuda and Omori were like, yo, we need to appeal to the smartphone stuff going on. And then Morimoto just came in and he was like, bitch, please, what you talking about? I think that, I feel that Morimoto needs to be a game director again. Like, that, he seems like one of the old school, old guard, like, hey, we need to just, like, make this the blunt Pokemon games that people were used to growing up. And it seems like an appeal to try to get a larger audience, that's kind of it. But then it's also really interesting because they're still taking feedback, both negative, positive and negative, for consideration to the future. It's one of those things where it's, again, like, if you have to have valid criticism. You can't just crap on them for no reason, because then that's not going to be seen as proper feedback and it's not going to be applied. And I think that's what we can see right here. That by hacking Pokemon Sun and Moon a week before it came out, it's like, well, if you're not going to respect any of the game features, then why are we going to make game features for you to disrespect? That's why we're probably not going to see this magical, perfect 2019 Pokemon game that everyone's expecting. People are like, oh, Pokemon Let's Go is going to fail, and then that's what's going to make the Gen 8 game the best. It's like, well, Gen 8 game's already being developed. It's already been developed. That game's mentality, that game's direction has been set at the same time as Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. With the same mentality of all of this stuff going on right here. Unless Morimoto is the game director. Yeah, because, like, depending on how the game direction's been while they're doing this split development, that could change things. But I don't think they looked at Let's Go and went, we're going to make the complete opposite of Let's Go in the 2019 RPG, and we're just going to, like, flip everything around. I think that there's still risk they're holding on to this. And the future now means the 2020 game. If they don't take a year off, you know, the 2021 game, what we might expect in a Generation 4 remake or anything like that. I might do a video, I don't even know, like, for what I could do for a video of, like, constructive criticism, because I don't know if Game Freak's probably not going to get a hold of my videos or anything like that, but I don't know how to get my word out there, because I feel I do represent, like, the honest, representing spirit of Pokemon fan, and my ideas are, yeah, you're doing everything just right. Ignore the, like, extreme hate in the community, you know, the over-competitive, toxic masses that just want everything their way, and then they disrespect the game. But also, you don't need to kind of pull back super hard about that. You know, don't have this mentality. I'm against this. I'm against this. I like Pokemon Let's Go, but I know that Pokemon can be better. I know that Game Freak can do better. And I'd rather just kind of, like, yeah, like, I feel like Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee is still going to be better than Sun and Moon, X and Y, definitely Black and White. So I feel like it's going to be a callback to the old days and be on a same appreciation level while not being the same kind of games. And I think that could still mean good things for the future of Pokemon. Maybe we just get a new fan conversion, that you just turn the new audience into hardcore Pokemon fans. Because at some point it started, you know? We were all casuals once, and then we got smacked by the Pokemon you know, just Pikachu kicked us in the face, and we're like, hey, let's get more into this. Let's develop and get stronger, and maybe that's what can come of this. But it's hard to tell at this current time, and that's kind of it. So yeah, it's just kind of same old. Doesn't really change anything about Pokemon Let's Go. I don't think that, like, again, the design doesn't come off as easier or more handholdy or babyier game, because this is what we've seen for Black and White on. So, and I think that because it's Generation 1, because Generation 1 was so tough, so brutal, that's what's going to keep this locked down. I trust Game Freak for balance. I trust Game Freak for everything right now. This doesn't really change it, because the end product still looks good. The end product is still something that's key to Pokemon and very respectable. But we're going to see how it ends up playing out. Like, yep, I expected this. I exactly expected this. Like I said, Junichi Masuda has already said very concerning things in other interviews, so it's not like this is the end of Pokemon Let's Go. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.